One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. Mark, your background is highlighted by a bunch of fundraising success. You've already had it there at Albany in your 2 years with the Great Danes. You had quite a bit of solid results from a fundraising standpoint at Old Dominion previously. And for those out there listening to the One Question podcast series or the many people who read D1 Ticker and are thinking about their first AD job or maybe getting close to that point in their career, when you're going through the thick of an interview process, how did you really identify and analyze the giving capacity, maybe of what was at Albany, or how would you suggest somebody to identify and analyze the giving capacity of a particular department compared to maybe what it's been doing in the past from a development bottom line number?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, relative to the potential for fundraising at University of Albany, I didn't know a lot about the school prior to the interview process. So, I spent a lot of time researching the school, taking a look at the giving programs that they had in place, not just for athletics, but across the university to try to see what kind of systems and what kind of infrastructure did they have in place. And, I learned what's interesting about we're part of the SUNY system. As SUNY was developed as a system in New York, it was really originally geared primarily just to academics. So, alumni associations, philanthropy, club sports, Division I athletics wasn't really part of the initial charge. And as a result of that, most of us in the SUNY system, are a little behind the curve in terms of philanthropy, a little ahead of it, academics versus athletics. So as I looked at this particular opportunity, there was no organized athletic development organization in place. They were doing some athletic fundraising, but it was underneath the university development without any real identity or brand. So, I knew that was obviously step one would be to come in and build a branded athletic fundraising organization, which we've just launched here in July, the Great Dane Athletic Club. And so I did a lot of research there. I also looked at historically the revenue numbers. I looked at season ticket sales for football, men's basketball, women's basketball. I took a look at their overall revenue to see where they had been historically. But I also I thought it's really important to look, where you live can really sometimes dictate some of your success. And here at University of Albany, we're very fortunate. We're in the capital of New York. So I knew starting off that that's probably not a bad place to be and a bad place to live. And I looked at the MSA of the area to see, were there enough people in this region to support Division I athletics at a higher level, particularly with football and the move into the Colonial Athletic Association. And so, the capital region has a MSA of around 900,000. So I knew there were enough people. And then I took a look at their alumni statistics, and we have about 40,000 alums that live right here in the capital district. So I thought that's a really good sign and a good check that there's enough people in our backyard that you hope have great feelings about the institution and athletics that we can work to engage. And then, we're very fortunate. We have proximity to Boston. New York City is about 2.5 hours away. You can do it by train or by car. We had another 40,000 alumni living in the New York City metro area. So I really felt like all the things were in place and accessible to grow the fundraising base here at the University of Albany. Also knew that was of particular interest to the president and to the campuses making that next step with the athletic program here.
Did you do a bunch of benchmarking against Albany's peer group, whether it be there in the America East or Colonial for football? How much did you look at numbers you could get your hands on, whether it be through a WinAD or some other public sources, EADA, whatever? Did that factor considerably in this framework you used to decide how much more could be generated there?
Oh, absolutely. I used all those sources. WinAD in particular was a very useful tool that I used, and yes, I did benchmark within the CAA. The football schools, we also are housed in the America East for most of our sports, and so I looked at benchmarks against the America East and some aspirational schools, some places that we would want to be like at some point, and I looked at that from a revenue standpoint, but also from a budget standpoint. Where do we stack up relative to our peers? Did we have the resources currently, primarily through the institution support, to compete? So that was all a big part of what I looked at. And then also, you have to try to compare apples to apples. So you can't just look at overall budgets. Obviously, like in our league, for example, in the America East, New Hampshire, Maine, University of Albany, Stony Brook, we're all football-only members in the CAA and full-time members of the America East. Well, New Hampshire and Maine, when I looked at their budget, you have to factor in they sponsor Division I hockey, whereas we don't. So trying to just really drill down even deeper to find a real accurate comparison, apples to apples.
So one of the things we always hear and read about in any athletic director change or hire is, of course, your family feeling like you were going to fit in the community. And I'm curious, in as much detail as you're comfortable providing, like what process you and your family use to decide, hey, are we going to thrive here in this community? And not that there was like some checklist that you had in front of you, or maybe there was, I don't know, but walk me through kind of how those conversations went, what topics were commonly part of them.
Yeah, I think, first of all, I was in a great situation at Old Dominion University. I worked there for 2 different times over almost a 20-year period. So, I loved the institution. We loved where we lived. The job was very rewarding. I got in corporate sponsorship marketing, transitioned into fundraising. We had great projects. So we got to build a basketball arena, the Ted Constant Center. We had to work to fill it up. We were able to start a football program from scratch and move into the Colonial Athletic Association, and then also help transition into Conference USA where they are today. So, coming from a very solid situation that I loved, I lived very close to the beach, which isn't bad. And as I looked at opportunities along the way, I just kept coming back and being very happy at Old Dominion. And so my wife and I, Hunter, we have a deal. We now have 3 small children, and we have one on the way in October. So her and I, the deal was, if a job comes up and she did not like the colors of the school or the mascot or where we're going to live or how far is it from her family, I was willing to definitely not consider that for any reason that she might have, because I think it's one thing to move yourself or if you're involved in a relationship, but then you start factoring in kids and larger families. It makes it more and more difficult, and you've got to be really committed, I think, as a family, that one, yes, you do want to make a move somewhere and be rock solid on that, but then 2, try to find that fit. And as you say, it's not always a checklist of things that you can measure. When this opportunity came out, I remember we were in the Outer Banks on vacation, and I'd done a really good job of not checking my phone for 4 or 5 days, and then I snuck in and checked my phone, and I'd seen all these messages. So I followed up, and I knew really not much about the University of Albany, and so I knew I had enough time to research when we got back from the beach, and I did extensive research on the school, as much as I could about the area, and then I was fortunate enough to get an interview. Things started falling into place. When I met with the search committee, I knew what they were looking for in their next athletic director. I felt like my skill set matched up with what they wanted to do, which was largely to build the external resources, the competitive balance. University of Albany, we're highly competitive in a very broad-based 18 sport program. This year we've won our 4th consecutive Commissioner's Cup, and we tied an all-time record. So I knew a situation where the competitive excellence was there, and you obviously want to keep that moving in that direction. I knew academically the school has a really good reputation. The athletic department was in very solid shape from academics, so that was, again, something you'd have to come in and just continue that trajectory. But what they really wanted was to build a fan base, corporate sponsorship, attendance, season tickets, fundraising, branding of the university within the capital region, New York, and beyond. So all the things that I had done in my career. So I felt from a job fit, it was really, really good for us. Living in a metropolitan type area was something that we're used to, that we like. It's good for work because you can draw a lot of resources there, but it's also diverse in that there's many great things to do. We have young children, so the school system had to be something that we were very comfortable with, and it turned out it's a great school system here that our kids are really happy with that. So that that was a big part of it. And then I think all of us want to work. You want to enjoy working with the people you work with, and I think you want to have a boss and leadership that you're aligned with philosophically. And and Dr. Jones, Robert Jones, we connected. I felt right away. We had good conversations about the role of a strong athletic department within the university structure. We were on the same page, I think, in how we like to approach things. So that was another piece that I felt really comfortable about. And it's funny, you just never know. This kind of came out of the blue for me, and it can be stressful for anybody. So you just have to think it's right. We actually had moved into a new house in Virginia Beach. The day I left for my first interview here, the moving trucks had shown up to unload, and I remember my wife said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "Well, I'm not sure. This is the first step. So let's, unpack. When I get back, I'll help you unpack." And I got back, and I think I got a call that night about coming back. So I knew that it was getting serious, having been through these a few times. And the second trip ended up on my wife's birthday, which I missed, and which was a great birthday present to get this great opportunity here for her on her birthday. So, you got to try to do as much research as you can, but you never really know until you get to a place if it's going to match up what it is on paper.
Yeah, it's interesting. We should go through the color palette, and we should get Hunter on the phone, and we could eliminate. Oh, I don't know. A lot of schools, if you ever go get another AD job just because of a color she doesn't like or a mascot, we could go through that list. That'd be a good interview. That'd be a really good.
That'd be a great interview session and a great game. And ironically, she went to Flagler College, but also they have a joint program with FIT, the Fashion Institute in Manhattan, which is a SUNY school, which I didn't know that until I got here. So she's very well qualified on that, from that perspective, to make those decisions. And luckily, I didn't even realize I had a lot of purple in my wardrobe, so it was another good fit.
You mentioned clicking with President Jones pretty quickly, and obviously that relationship between an athletic director and his or her president or chancellor is, if not the most important one going into a job, certainly one of the most important ones. And President Jones has now, I don't know if he's officially moved on to Illinois in terms of having his first day as chancellor in Champaign, but we know that's going to happen here soon if it hasn't already. What does that mean for you in that relationship, and what's it like to be still a relatively new AD? You're 2 years in, so you're not brand new, but a guy who you were connected so strategically with is now headed out, and so that's a new dynamic for you. How does that feel so far, and what do you expect from that?
Well, I think it was certainly, unexpected. As Robert was new here, I think I was his second hire from his leadership team, and first I just want to say, how grateful I am to him for this opportunity. Whether it would have been 18 months together or 7 or 10 years together, just really appreciative of the fact that he believed in me to do this, and also to say, I'm really happy for him to get what he considers to be a dream job based on his career. He worked in the Big Ten at University of Minnesota for over 30 years. He's a land grant kind of guy. So this is really an opportunity that is a dream one for him. So, I think while he did great things here, and we're all, personally, sorry to see him go, but certainly happy for him in this great opportunity. So, I think the transition is one I've been through it a few times in the past. Robert put together a great senior leadership team on his vice president's cabinet, and there are a lot of us that are, relatively new, but we have big plans he's set in motion for the University of Albany, whether it be a new College of Engineering, we have a new College of Homeland Cybersecurity that's going to be, really important in terms of growing our enrollment, support of a Division I athletic program, and raising the brand and the profile. So there's a lot of great things in place and great people in place, and I think, you have to worry about the things that you can control or somewhat can control, and you can't worry about the things and spend time on the things that you can't. So I think the message to me personally and to our department within athletics is we're on a great trajectory. We were with Dr. Jones' leadership. We're going to continue on that. It's really important that we just stay focused, continue working the strategic plan that we've set forth, and strive to be a really, positive light for the university, and represent them, in a first-class manner, and do what we can, I think, to help make this a really attractive job for his successor. And so that's really going to be our plan, moving forward, because as you know, change happens all the time for all kinds of reasons. In this case, it's just a really great reason, for Dr. Jones, and I think a really great opportunity for someone to come in and carry on the great things that are already in place and really put their own spin to it, and continue on this really positive trajectory.
Let's finish with one fun one. What book is in your office within arm's reach right now that you dig into when time allows? And you've got 3 kids and about to have a 4th, so I know that time is minimal, but what book is top of mind for you right now?
Oh, The Places You'll Go, I think is a very, maybe it's where I am in my life with young kids. Maybe it's applicable to, transition and uncertain futures, but just the possibilities of what can be done is something that, and it's a little fun and lighthearted and humorous. So I think it's something that, I read to my kids a lot. I read to myself a lot. And I think it's something that, for me, I maybe have an odd sense of humor, keeps me kind of grounded and balanced and focused. But I think you can take a lot away from that book.
Yeah, no, and people listening will think that I prepped you on that question, which I absolutely did not, but you came up with that one pretty quickly. And I understand, with young kids of my own, I totally get it. Like, mine would be some kind of Thomas the Train book right now. So, but that's a good choice. So I like it.
There you go. It's a quick read. So, I don't have a lot of time, all the time to read. But no, you definitely didn't. That was a great question. It had the real chance to stump me.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.